We are back to talk some college football, the national championship at Rock Hard.
Hey, let's start this one over, Rome. We're only 10 seconds in.
We're here to talk about the college national championship at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami with the Miami, Florida against the Indiana. Once again, the Miami, Florida. Where do you get this stuff, dude? Once again, Miami gets no icon on this little line graphic that you sent us.
If we had a different sponsor, it might be the other stadium you talked about. I don't know if we had.
That's Aaron's Blue Chew.
Blue Chew's been reaching out. Let's put it that
Rock
way.
Hard Stadium. God, wow.
Hey, I'll put it this way. There's going to be some, maybe some happy Hoosiers or Hurricanes that are going to be rock hard after that victory either way.
All right. Miami Hurricanes getting 8.5 points, plus 280 on the money line. Over under is 47 for this, minus 350 for Indiana. So Indiana heavy favorites for this matchup. Aaron, you were talking, all of a sudden it sounded like you became a Hurricanes fan last week, saying, this is going to be a really good matchup. Indiana's going to get punched in the face. You still feel that way? You can be the first one to take us down the aisle.
I do, Rome. I mean, I think Indiana wins this game. I do, like I mentioned when we recorded Monday night, I love Miami getting 8.5 here. They're going to be, look, it's a home game, whether or not the crowd is 50-50, 60-40, one way or another. This is going to be, that's in their own stadium. For Miami, the key really is Carson Beck. I mean, if you go back and look at the games they lost, he had 4 interceptions against Louisville. I think he had 2 against SMU. All other games combined in the season basically adds up to that amount of turnovers as far as interceptions. So I think if he does not turn the ball over, I know Jaeson and we've talked about the trenches of Miami. We know Miami can run the ball. They're going to challenge Indiana like no team has. Indiana has not played a team that plays bully ball like a Miami and has the athletes and the size to compete with them. I mean, Oregon had a little bit of success the first time they met against Indiana. This last time they got behind by too many points and just, had to avert the run game. But Miami's going to play it close to the vest. They'll take their chances and their shots when they get a chance. Beck's got to connect on those. He's been pretty good in these playoffs, especially in the fourth quarter, converting a lot of big third downs and leading game-winning drives for touchdowns. Special teams is a concern for Miami. The kicker's not been great, but he should be better in his home stadium. And Indiana, what will they do when they're challenged? We've only seen them challenged once against a talented Penn State team, but a Penn State team that was on a 6-game losing streak at the time. So, yes, I do like Miami here. Wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins, but I do think ultimately Indiana's going to pull out a tough game. Maybe Mendoza late 2-3 minute leads them on a drive, cementing himself in Indiana Hoosier and college football history as a Heisman winner to win the trophy on a game-winning drive in the final 2 to 3 minutes of a national championship game. But yes, Miami plus 8.5 is the play here for me.
Wow. Jaeson.
Yeah, I agree with Aaron on this one. Have liked Miami, majority of the season for what they got in the trenches. And I've said it week over week. And you look at the size disparity a little bit on the Miami offensive line. Like they got some big athletes that are 330 to 350 pounds in the offensive line versus an Indiana defensive line that, they're not undersized, but it's smaller. Like the Miami offensive line can maul a little bit there. And Miami's no slouch in the defensive line there too, to really combat what Indiana can do offensively. Indiana probably still, for overall roster, the better team, obviously being an 8.5 point favorite, but 8.5 was a lot of points for a Miami team that's really talented. And they've been shutting a lot of people up here throughout this playoff. Obviously them getting into the playoff over Notre Dame was a lot of controversy with that, but they were a deserving team from the beginning. And if they would have just lost one game in the ACC, it would have been no doubt. And they probably would have had the better seating and everything that goes with that. But they are where they are right now, and they've been probably one of the teams at the beginning of the season we thought could potentially be here, and they are because of how Mary Cristobal, recruited, brought guys in through the transfer portal, when it comes to building through the trenches, and I think that'll be what keeps this game close. I would be a little more surprised if they did win, given where Indiana has really just been all season, kind of taking it to another level. But I'll take Miami the plus 8.5 still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking back at the schedule here, and I was like, how many games have actually been close for Indiana? So they have a couple. 5-point victory over Iowa. Good Iowa team, though. They also have a 10-point victory over Oregon. That was, one of the closer ones. They have a 3-point victory over Penn State, and then they have a 3-point victory over Ohio State. So, in that little spectrum from some of the better opponents that they have faced, where does Miami fit? I'm not really sure if it's leaning more towards the Ohio State, Penn State, since they balled out for that game. Then I'll take Miami with the points, but I just think it's still no contest. Indiana's just lights out. Miami does have the size, but one thing that a lot of people have not been talking about is the maturity of this Indiana team. I think one reason I was like trying to dig in, like how was Signetti been able to revamp a whole program basically overnight? Because this is like nuts. It's almost like what Nick Saban did to, like, let's face it, man, Alabama was trash when he got there, and they've been trash our whole lives basically. So, we were around for the Bear Bryant days, but that's what he's done. He sounds like Saban. Everything about him is Saban like, which is really cool. Indiana's team is one of the oldest teams in college football. They have a lot of 22 to 23 plus year olds. They definitely got the experience from other universities, and Signetti and his crew. They recruited the right guys to turn around this program, and I think that's what's going to be the big difference. They're going to overcome the size that Miami can bring. You saw Ohio State; they probably had like the biggest fight against them. So, I initially I thought this was going to be a blowout, but after hearing that conversation again, and then Miami is just playing lights out right now, right? So I'll take Miami with the points, but I think Indiana still wins by 6 or 7 points here. I still think they win by a touchdown. It's not going to be as close as we think, but it's going to be it should be a fun affair, I think, at the very least. I would not be surprised if Indiana does just blow them out, capitalizes on some of the mistakes. Is this the game where Carson Beck coughs up a throw or two? He didn't play great the last game, and he's been solid down the stretch, but this is going to be the biggest game of his life. This is his last year, right, of playing ever. Carson Beck, I'm guessing he's going to go to the NFL. That's all weighing on him, or he's going to try to at least be a backup somewhere. Lots to write out. The U is back. They're definitely back, but Indiana, this is going to be the icing on the cake for a perfect season for them. Now, looking back at who they played, though, they beat my UCLA team by 50 points. I remember that game. I was not too happy.
Yeah, I remember too, Rome. We were on UCLA plus 31 in that game.
Yeah, I remember that.
First play of the game was a pick six, so I knew how
I
that
asked you,
went.
are you sure, man? Are you sure? Like, don't mess with my team now.
UCLA was hot at that time. Shows you how hot they were going into that game.
Dude, they got cooled off so quickly. That game was a blowout.
But Rome, yeah, I mean, you mentioned the schedule. I mean, they do have one thing in common. They have a common opponent in Ohio State.
Yeah.
And, if you look back at the game, I mean, 16-13, Indiana beat Ohio State. But Miami won. Was it 24-14 they beat Ohio State? I think that was the final score. So, I mean, similar results. What worries me about Indiana, I mean, Jaeson talked about all the size and the trenches and all that Miami has. Indiana, and Jaeson, we've talked about this a lot, Indiana has no depth. I mean, their starters are heavy. And then the fact that they don't really have depth behind them, guys ready to really compete. I mean, their defensive rotation is 13 guys. So how will they hold up in the third, fourth quarter if Miami's able to kind of just pound on them, wear on them? Will they wear down to a point where we haven't seen what somebody's not been able to do against Indiana because they just jump out 21-0 or midway through the second quarter and pitch you away? So the closer this game is, the longer it gets and Miami's in the game. I think Miami playing all these close games that will benefit them. But to your guys' point, I think Mendoza, the maturity, the leadership he has, I think it's enough to overcome Miami and lead his team to a victory. It feels like one of those 23-21 type games where Indiana pulls it out late.
Yeah, nothing about the quarterback comparison. Mendoza, we saw him just rip up the defenses apart so far. Like, he just reads things really well. I'm still not sure. Like we already broke him down a little bit last time, so I don't want to dig into that can of worms again. But him versus Carson Beck. Which Carson Beck? I know your Miami guy gave us some shit. Which one's going to show up? But honestly, like which one is going to show up? Like they need the best version of Beck ever, and
Beck's played in a lot of big games in the SEC and playoffs, so
Yeah.
and he's been good in a lot of them.
He's seasoned.
So, I being at home, it's the fact that it's at Hard Rock Stadium, I think he's going to play well.
I think I'm like dyslexic. I've heard something else. Any other comments on college football? Have you guys heard about some of the rumors, potentially some college head coaches that might pique the interest of the Steelers?
I have not, Rome. Who we got?
No.
I mean, Jaeson might have his earmuffs on for when he hears Marcus Freeman's name brought up for every job.
Some of
He
the
already
Steelers'
said
most
he's coming
famous.
back.
Well, that was before the Steelers opened up. Some of the Steelers' most famous hires, right? Because about stability here, they've reached out. They try to go after someone that's not been like 2 seasons in NFL. They've gone after college coaches before, like Joe Paterno. Joe Paterno led to the Bill Cowher hire, I believe, or some shit like that. Right now, Signetti is being thrown out there. He's not going to make that money in the NFL, but I guess there's like some ties there. There's also ties to your guy, Jason Freeman. How that's like a kind of like a perfect ideal fit for him and the Steelers, up and coming, only in college, you know. And I'm like, you know what? That one does kind of make sense to me. it kind of does sound kind of good. Allegedly, he's not. You know, he's publicly saying he's not interested, but I've heard there's been conversations. So
I don't think you get anyone in the college ranks. I think you're going to get somebody from coordinator NFL.
yeah, I've heard about Don Shula's grandson getting it.
I would say this: if Marcus Freeman, I know he's denied interest in all these jobs and said he's sticking at Notre Dame, and that's all been true.
Yeah.
If he really wants the Steelers job, I think he would probably jump to the front of the line if he actually made the effort to have his agent reach out and say, "Hey, we're really interested. What does that look like?" So, but I do think Marcus Freeman is eventually going to go to the pros within the next 5 to 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I just think it'd be smart. He's only 2 years or 3 years at Notre Dame, I guess, at this point. But like, when you're a college guy making the jump, I think you got to understand quarterback taking the job. And the Steelers have no quarterback situation.
Oh,
so
it's a
I
bad
think,
job, dude. It's not a good job to take. I'm not going to say it's a good
Right.
job.
So I think
there's no quarterback. There's no offensive coordinator. There's no offense. It's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it is. And so that's where I think like you're going to have a learning period coming out of the college game. And so I think you need the right situation, and you got to have quarterback figured out. If you're either the worst team and you got the first overall pick or a top 5 pick where you know you're going to get your choice of a guy coming out of college and you're going to grow and build with that quarterback, or it's somebody on like a second type, earlier in their career you're going through, like, I don't think the Ravens do it, but it'd be like, okay, I get Lamar Jackson and I'm going to build these other things. But I don't think you'll see a college. Like Shula, you mentioned from the Rams. I think that could be interesting. That's out there. I've heard Brian Flores for the Steelers job too. That could be, interesting. He was tight with Tomlin. Don't know what kind of stuff he got around there.
I think the Steelers are like Leonardo DiCaprio though. Flores is a little too old. They like him young.
Flores isn't that old. What is he, 45?
That would be the oldest coach the Steelers would ever hire. Have I ever hired?
I mean, how old is Chris Shula?
34.
With the Rams.
Young, dude.
Yeah, some young. But I don't know. I think that's their trend, Rome, but doesn't mean it happens now.
Yeah.
So I saw Anthony Weaver too, DC of the Dolphins. He's got a lot of play, recently too.
I think he's going to the Giants, DC with Harbaugh.
Think so?
Yeah, I think that's a good destination for him.
Interesting.
And I think if you're Freeman, to your guys' point, do you really want to replace a legend, 19 straight winning seasons of Tomlin, and go in and have a losing year the first time and be a college coach in your first NFL experience? I mean, if you go to a bad team and you get, like, Jason said, the top pick with a quarterback, or a quarterback that you can select in the top 5 or 10 of a draft, you get a little leeway. kind of build yourself. If you go to Pittsburgh, like anything less than 500, I mean, people are just going to be booing you. I mean, they've been calling for Tomlin's head for the last 5 years, and all he does is get him in the playoffs and win football
Steelers
games.
have ever like ripped the Band-Aid and start fresh, but I think the fans would be okay with like a couple of years grace this time around, just because a lot of older guys, big contracts.
You say
I
that
think we'd
until
be okay
you
with.
say that you say that until you're in it.
Well, I don't want to be in it for 20
Well,
years.
the Roonies have already said that their losing's not an option. Like they
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to tank. They want to
Yeah.
continue to be where they're at. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how it plays out for them. But there's a lot of coaches out there that are good. I mean, Flores was a defensive coordinator 1 year under Tomlin, about 3-4 years ago before he went to
He was good.
Minnesota.
Actually, that was the last time the Steelers defense actually did really well.
Yeah, I think Flores would be I think it could be a good hire for Pittsburgh. I mean, Shula's been mentioned. I mean, I don't think they're going to go back to Mike McCarthy, but he is a Pittsburgh native, Pennsylvania guy.
I heard
He's won a lot.
but it doesn't really tickle my dick.
Do they go Jesse Minter? You know, he's a good young defensive coordinator guy as well. Or do they surprise us and go with some young offensive guy? I mean, I know people are throwing a name out, Davis Webb, passing game coordinator for the Broncos. I'm hearing he's getting a lot of love. And
What?
so, yeah, he's only 30 years old. So
You never know, man.
You just don't know. I think
That's
people are
having a
trying to
McVay.
hype up some guys that are position coaches to get them at least a coordinator or a raised position somewhere else with some of these new coaching staffs, to be honest.
Maybe. All right, so football. Saturday, Sunday, not a lot of football, but all in the nighttime, and then we have a nice championship game on Monday. That should be exciting. Some finality here as we go down the stretch. Watched some basketball today, some hockey yesterday. Watched the Penguins early today, actually. Trying to switch gears here, but football's coming to an end. It's sad.
Since we're on college, you guys did see that Dante Moore is coming back for another year there at Michigan, or for Oregon.
Yeah, smart move. Smart
I think
move.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just have 2 years of college playing experience and go to the NFL.
Or
Like
one and
everyone's
a half,
been
whatever
getting.
he's got, but yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's smart for him and probably best given where the Jets are at of just not taking a quarterback that is not ready to go for him or the Jets.
same. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Would they dare take Ty Simpson? I don't think they do, but I mean, he was the number 3 guy.
Yeah, but he's not even a first round grade. I don't think, right?
I don't really have him. I don't have him as a high first round grade, a minimum, but yeah.
I just don't know how you reach in that position. Like you, the thing about it, like you get these top picks, like you got to have someone that's going to work out. And I know that's the quarterback thing, but you at least got to take a high impact player and then figure out where quarterback is. I don't know where they're going to be looking. Is Mac Jones or somebody going to be like the reclamation project free agent of the offseason?
He signed a 2-year deal, I think I heard, with the Niners.
Oh, he did?
So he's still under contract. I mean, I guess they would probably swap him for a second or a third, right? Round pick.
I think they like him as a backup right there. I don't think they want to get rid of him.
I mean, he's cheap.
Yeah,
He's cheap and he played pretty well.
Chips are gonna have to fall. I don't know where the Jets go. I don't know if the option's even out there. I think maybe people were talking like, is Anthony Richardson, is someone's gonna try to throw a reclamation project for him already? Is Daniel Jones even re-signed with the Colts too? Is that even? I doubt he wants to go back to New York, but
They say they want to keep him. Richardson.
Is he even going to be ready to play come the first month or two coming off that Achilles? I mean, Richardson, if Richardson can't work with Shane Steichen, he's not going to work anywhere. I don't
he's
think.
a good project, but you don't want to send him into a worse situation. Like, just look at what happened to Justin Fields, man. He had a good year at the Steelers, and they just tore him apart.
He's basically the modern day Jamarcus Russell, dude. Anthony Richardson. That's what he is.
Does he not study? Does he go to strip clubs or what?
I didn't see it out of college. He was in
Russell
tremendous
was really good
in college, but for Anthony Richardson, he was just a tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
And like it didn't seem like anyone
different.
really had. It was like, oh, we're going to teach this guy on the job. Unless you're not going to start him and have a sort of development plan, which only really the Packers do.